close rows of tall trellised grapevines with full leaves and clusters of green and purple grapes. Title: Protect your vineyard land. Preserve your legacy. Marine fog hugs nearby hills. Standing by the rows, John Williams, founder and winemaker at Frog's Leap Winery.
I hope I'm talking to farmers because I'm a farmer. I grew up on my family's dairy farm. I now farm 200 acres of grapes here in Napa.
Freestanding grape plants, vines spreading out like skirts.
Farmers think differently about their land. Many farmers find themselves in a position of wanting to keep the farm in a family farming type situation. But like most of you, so much of the value of what I've been working for all these years is tied up in the value of my land.
The sprawling vineyard, grapes growing in full sun. Thomas T. Davies, president and managing partner at Visa Tui Winery.
This is the historic Henry Ranch. This is a very unique ranch. For us, it's really important that we protect this beauty. You know, this is something that just can't be duplicated. The Napa Valley is protected under this blanket of the Ag Preserve. Nearly 60 years ago, this first of its kind ag zoning said ag is the highest and best use. But I think we needed to go a step further.
Lena Palastro, Conservation Director of the Land Trust of Napa County, in her office, books on local flora on a table.
So the Ag Preserve was the citizens' idea, their first attempt to say, man, we want to protect agriculture in Napa County. We don't want to see the entire valley overrun like some of our neighboring counties where there's subdivisions and suburbs built on top of each other. But zoning can change based on who is leading at our Board of Supervisors. It could change by a citizens initiative. What the conservation easements do is they then take that same idea and they make it permanent.
Thomas looks out over a hilly expanse.
It wasn't enough just to say, we're not going to develop it. Once you put it in a conservation easement, it's forever. It's in perpetuity.
Ted Hall, co-founder of Longmeadow Ranch, on a video call.
We decided to use conservation easements as a way of ensuring that the agricultural investments that our family was making would be secure. Conservation easement has the additional benefit of ensuring that the property, if it were to go out of the family hands, continue to be in agriculture. It also means that the property is going to trade at agricultural values, not at housing or commercial development values. So you do have, if you will, the societal benefit of making agricultural land available to future farmers at agricultural prices, as opposed to development prices.
A big red dog explores the grape plants at Frog's Leap.
You know, I don't want this to sound like this was all altruistic. I mean, this was also an important business decision for us. This generated a very large tax deduction, and that benefited us, particularly as we were in a growing situation where the winery, to have that cash returned to the business allowed us to make improvements, get these vineyards replanted, and things that were very, very important to us as a business.
Huge fermentation tanks and stacked wine barrels in the cellar.
All of our vineyard conservation easements have been done through donations. The timing is really driven by the landowner's tax consequences.
Once you make a decision to put your farm into an easement, no one tells you how to farm. About once a year, they come out and check to make sure that you haven't doubled the size of your house or built some new buildings. We just are in the process of digging a new well. We did not have to check with them. That's an agricultural use of the land. And so it's important to know that this isn't telling you how to farm. This is telling you you have to farm.
A low hill wrapped in rows of trellised grape plants.
Once you get an area started under a conservation easement, it can often be very encouraging to adjacent neighbors. So in our case, I was able ultimately to engage 3 of our neighbors, and we ended up creating a 2,400 acre contiguous conservation conserved area under conservation easement. And in every case, it resulted in substantial economic benefit.
When I drive up and down Napa Valley, I can look to the left and I see John Williams' property, and then I look to the right and I see something that Dario Satui has protected. And then I drive a little further north and I look to the right and I see something that was protected by Larry and Suzanne Turley. So it's kind of cool to be able to look and see that impact.
A narrow road snakes along tree-dotted dry grass hills.
The night we signed the papers to permanently preserve this property was the best sleep I've had in years.
Winery buildings tucked between hills and rows of grapes.
If you're philosophical and family objective is to perpetuate agriculture and ensure that property, whether it's in your family's hands or in a future family's hands, is going to be in agriculture. This is one of the very few, maybe the only mechanism to actually ensure that that occurs.
Agriculture is the way that we're going to protect the land. If we're not successful and sustainable with agriculture, everything that we have, all this open space, is at risk. And so it's so important that we have ability to farm sustainably, successfully, and in doing so, we can help preserve this beautiful asset we have here in the Napa Valley.
Trellised grape plants with just a few feet between the rows and no irrigation. Grapes in varying stages of ripeness are partially shaded by big fan-like leaves. This program was created thanks to generous funding from Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board, OWEB, logo for Oregon Agricultural Trust, www.oregonagtrust.org.